Tanae Gumake, Richard Jefferson. We have so many folks stopping by. Monica McNutt, Roz Goldon-Woode, Mark Spears, Tyler Fulgham. They will all join us later in the show. But we have to start right across the street with the most historic rivalry in the NBA. Because last night, the Celtics, they were in Staples Center taking on the Lakers. But really, it was those two in the first half, Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, look, you could just call me Richard, but I was thinking that, like, is it the first? Is it the past versus the present? Is it the past versus the future? But at the end of the day, LeBron James and Jason Tatum were going at it. Bron with one of his most efficient first half. You see this 7%, and Tatum was on fire.
Well, Tatum, 21 points we're seeing there, but 14 of those, they came in the first quarter, and they were the Celtics' first 14 points as a team. So he was really sizzling early, but then the third quarter happened for the Lakers.
And this has not typically been their best third quarter, but they came out. I think now that they've got a little bit more healthy, Bron is playing in some games. And look at this, 80 years old, and this man can still get up.
80? Really?
Oh, okay,
that must
75.
mean you're 102,
75,
right?
but look at this. There was a time where, head was by the rim. Now it's just his arm.
I don't know. He was getting up from dropping it low afterward to celebrate. But a difference maker in the game, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
his aggressiveness. And then he's rocking the baby?
He's rocking the baby. He's feeling himself, but that's what he should. Look, sometimes it can take veterans a little bit of time to get going, especially when you got bounce like that. Look at this. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and look at what the big three combined for. 42 points.
They were cooking, but look, at the end of the day, this was about the Lakers getting out in transition. And look, when some people are feeling good, everybody's feeling good. Give him a little windmill.
Well, the Lakers, they did for the majority of the night after the first half, made it look easy. Here's LeBron James after the game.
I just like the way we competed tonight on both sides of the floor. A lot of intensity, a lot of ball movement. Guys were attacking the rim, very efficient. Tonight was as close to 48 minutes. It's one of the best games of the season as far as the way we just played the game.
Russ, was this kind of the blueprint for how you, LeBron, and AD can all kind of have your moments?
We have a unique team, as you guys know, and we have guys that can take over a game at any point. Tonight was a way they're kind of all laid out, and it worked for us tonight, but we don't know. I don't know the blueprint. All I know is that we won, so if that's the blueprint, then hell yeah, winning is the blueprint.
Winning is the blueprint. Is that going to be your next tattoo, Richard?
100%.
We know you have some bad ones. All right, the Lakers' big three, they combined for 71 points last night. That's the fifth most points they've scored in a game this season. They had a net rating of plus 22.7. That's when all three of those folks shared the court last night, right? So I was at the game last night, and what jumped out to me was how aggressive Russell Westbrook was when he wasn't turning over the ball, an absurd amount at least, right? He had 11 assists, 4 turnovers, and I asked Anthony Davis about this exact thing post-game.
I think in the beginning of the year, Russ was a little bit passive. He was trying to get guys involved, pass the ball. He'd be at the rim, and he had one tonight. We tried to kick out to Melo, where he could have laid the ball up, and we're just trying to tell him, be himself. Like, don't try to be anybody else. As of late, last 7 to 10 games, he's been very, very aggressive. And when he do that, it opens up the floor for everyone else. Before every game, I tell him to be yourself. That's why we brought him here, to be Russell Westbrook and not anybody else but that.
Okay, so Russell Westbrook had a big night, but it was really the time that we heard LeBron James say this was maybe the best game that they felt that they had played as a group. What say you, Richard?
What say I?
Oh, she did what she said. You said, call me Richard.
She called me Richard. Yeah, that's fine.
See, I can accept feedback and
yeah, you know what? It's still a thing I'm working on. Look, I agree, and it's been tough because there's been conversations about Frank Vogel, and there's been Anthony Davis needs to step up. All of these things, really come down to if the Lakers are healthy, then you can judge them. If they're not healthy, then you're kind of judging a team that had championship aspirations based off of a small amount of sample size, and I just think that that's tough.
Right.
Exactly what Jeannie Buss said, earlier yesterday post game. But it's really interesting because the question is this their best game as a big three, right, Malika? Absolutely. Okay. If you look by, the performance, they had a convincing win, check. But then you look by the numbers, LeBron James, 30 points, on 65% shooting from the field. AD, who a lot of people have been critical about, what did he do?
Why are you pointing to me?
I'm just saying in general.
But I have been. I just didn't know why you pointed.
Don't act like you don't know why she pointed at
17
you.
and 16. And then Russ, 24 and 11. That's exactly what you need from the big three. So, yes, this is the start. Granted health, that's the number one contingency, but this is probably the best performance by them.
Well, and it seemed to me that playing Anthony Davis at center, right, where he spent the majority of his minutes last night, we saw him be successful doing that. I know it's not what he necessarily loves to do all the time, but that might be.
Look, well, I get it. I get it. You don't want to do it. You know why? Because it's harder. It's harder to play. No, it is.
No, you're right.
No, it is harder. It's like, oh, I got to do this.
But
I got to do that.
Okay, let's dive into this, Richard. Why? Why is it harder for AD?
It's harder because he's going to have to go against bigger, more physical players.
And why is that a problem for AD?
Because AD is not the most physical of players. He is highly skilled for a person of his size.
And he has an injury history where he has to be a little conservative. But go ahead.
I know, but 100% I agree with you. And that's the thing. If you want to get where you want to go, sometimes you have to do things you haven't done. And that was one of the things when they won the championship. Yes, Dwight Howard, yes, different guys were integral parts, but he was playing more and more of the five. And so I just personally feel that, hey, if this is what's going to get you guys out of this slump and this is what's going to get you guys rolling a little bit, then you're going to have to suck it up and play five. And you should be the first person standing up there and saying, this is what we should do.
Well, it worked for them last night, but the other thing that was working for them was Russ. We've spent some time talking about how aggressive he was, but Sinead, what exactly did that look like?
Oh, it was amazing, especially in that third quarter, because the Lakers have had struggles, coming out after half. When you're an older team, it's like, all right, a second game. Here we go, Rich. Let's break it down, all right?
I'm coming with you. Let's go.
Russ,
I don't know why she wants to come with her, but
one thing about Russell Westbrook is that this is what it is. Be aggressive.
Be aggressive.
Cheerleader?
Oh, yeah.
Give me my tape. Let's break it down. Russ was aggressive, especially in the third quarter. Now, this is what happens. A lot of people are going to dare him to shoot. He's a 31% three-point shooter. Again, you get the opportunity, teammates believe in you. But the reality is, this is what the shot that the defense is always going to give you. This was early in the first half. Now he took the feedback. And one thing about Russ, he's not going to get deterred. Now come second half, the same amount of space. This time he's like, you know what? I'm getting exactly where I need to go, and that's the paint. You're on your heels, crossed over. We saw this beautiful Euro step. And what happens when you're smaller Dennis Schroeder? Rock the baby.
Well, and he's going to get one-on-one situations in these moments, right? So now you get the AD pick and roll.
One-on-one and two-on-two. The AD pick and roll forces Robert Williams III to sort of have to not help as much as he wanted to. And
that's what you get. And mainly the reason why you get this is because you don't want him to be able to distribute to everybody. So you say, Russ, let him go. So that just means Russ has to win that one-on-one battle when he gets into the paint.
Precisely 6 for 8 from the field in the third quarter. That's the Russell Westbrook insurance policy that Lakers fans should be happy about. We should not be so critical of the Lakers because finally they're starting to get healthy and it's only a quarter of the season. Maybe halfway through, that's when you don't panic. Start panicking. You know what I mean?
Okay. You don't panic yet, right?
Okay.
Russ, he's stepped it up lately, right? Because over the last 8 games, he's averaging over 23 points on 50% shooting and 36% from deep. But the biggest difference is that he's taking care of the ball. He's averaging just 3.5 turnovers per game compared to 5 in the first 17 games of the season, right? But you know where the eyes of the NBA, they're going to be tonight? They're going to be focused on San Francisco because when Steph Curry takes aim at the three-point record, everybody is going to be watching. He is 16 away from surpassing Ray Allen. Is that possible? Yeah. Is it likely? All right, not so much. But the other Splash brother, right, Klay Thompson, he holds the single game record of 14 made threes in a game. And these guys, they just go back and forth because then Steph broke that broke Steph's old record of 13. But if anyone can do it, if anyone can make 16 threes in a game, it's Steph. But if he's going to do it, he's going to need to shoot early, he's going to need to shoot often, and keep this in mind. The most threes he's ever attempted in a game is 22. Oh, to be at Chase Center. To be at Chase Center to watch the chase, that would be fun. But you know who is going to be at Chase Center? That is Miss Roz Gold-Onwude, who's going to be working the sidelines of tonight's potentially record-breaking game. Thank you so much for coming in, Roz. You spent some time with Steve Kerr earlier yesterday. How is he approaching coaching this potentially historical night?
Yeah, Malika, first of all, I think you're right. It says a lot about Stephen Curry that he's 16 threes away from breaking this record, and we're like, it probably could happen. Maybe. And so, Steve Kerr yesterday at practice compared Steph to MJ in the sense that, there's so many magical moments that they start to bleed together. And he said perhaps that's the true sign of greatness. And then he also talked about the pace in which Steph is approaching this record, in the sense that he'll get there in just about 500 less games than it took Ray Allen to. And Steve said it says a lot about how much the game has changed and how much Stephen Curry has changed the game itself. Philosophically, coaching-wise, he gave credit to Mike D'Antoni and those Steve Nash sons as far as changing how we think about how many threes can be taken in a game. But as far as Stephen Curry as an individual, how we get to those three-point shots. What is a good shot?
Right.
What is not? He said Steph has changed that.
Well, and his teammates, right? I talked to Juan Toscano Anderson at a game the other week, and he's like, I was watching the great Warriors runs, and now I'm on the court with some of those great Warriors. So how are they thinking about Steph breaking this record?
Yeah, Juan is like you. He's from the Bay. He's from Oakland, So he was talking about how when he was watching the Warriors then, he actually was salty when they traded Monte Ellis. And he said, shout out to the decision makers who had that vision then. But now as a teammate of Steph's, he's actually, it's like a childlike curiosity. He's in awe. He's actually asked Steph, what are you looking at when you shoot? It brings out such innocent curiosity. And he actually laughed at himself. He said, I bet Steph thinks I ask him the most simple and dumb questions, but he genuinely wants to know, what is it like to be you?
Well, there you go. And I can relate to that, right, Roz? Because this is a special interview for me because, Roz, one of my very first job shadows ever was with you at a Warriors game, and I was Juan asking those questions. But, Roz, on the other side of the ball, right, Damian Lillard, he's out tonight with an abdominal injury, but he spoke in shoot-around. What did he say?
Yeah, I'm at Chase Center right now. The Trailblazers just finished shop. Damian Lillard addressed the media, and he addressed the trade rumors and all of the kind of noise around the Trailblazers head on. And he said, I'm not asking for a trade. He went on further to say, my intentions are to be in Portland and to figure this out. Ultimately, he feels like because the team is having a slow start, there's injuries, they're struggling a bit because there's commotion within the organization, that people are taking a liberty to speak for him. And for him, he says, the truth, the fact that I know it is what gives me peace. Speaking to Dame today, he said that, he's in the office every day with Chauncey Billups, trying to find solutions. And he said, why would I be part of trying to find solutions if I'm planning an exit? So also in speaking with Chauncey Billups today and others around the organization, the relationship at this moment between Damian Lillard and Chauncey Billups is strong. And the two of them are working together to build a successful future together in Portland. And that's the feeling around this right now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Roz. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight. This is going to be fun. All right. I do want to break this down. Yes, ma'am.
I remember when you shadowed and you were there with Stephen Curry. I have that picture, and for the next year, I'm going to send it.
Don't you dare even post that anyway.
By the way, Malika,
don't post that.
That's my Stanford sister, and I did the same thing. Information.
See? And Roz is that she is someone who walks the walks, talks the talk.
Yes.
But someone else who's been talking the talk, and there's a whole lot of walking and I don't even know what's what in this metaphor, is Damian Lillard. So what's your reaction, Richard, to what Dame said this morning at shoot-around?
Look, again, you said it yesterday how transparent Dame is. Dame is one of those very consistent superstars, and I believe him 100%. But just like anything, both sides have to meet in the middle. And I truly believe that right now, the Portland Trailblazers, based off of what Woj is reporting, they're kind of trying to make a decision. You got looking for a new president, GM. I know you have an interim one. But there are people that are having conversations looking at Dame as an asset. And the minute the relationship you are in are not looking at you and how can we all do this forward, but also what are the other options out there? What are the other moves that we can make? That to me says that this is headed towards something that, maybe Dame might not be ready. Dame might say, I don't want to leave. And the new GM comes and says hey, this is going to be the best thing for the organization moving forward.
Well, there's still time for this to play out. Just to remind everyone, right? We're not talking about this right now.
No.
Dame is under contract for 3 more seasons after this one. We're talking about adding a 2-year extension on top of that, which he could have offered to him as soon as this summer. Chene, how do you react to this? You know Dame incredibly well.
Yeah, I know Dame through the Team Adidas family, and he's been one of the greatest people, just not through knowing him in basketball, just period. And I think his life has really come to the point where the only thing he really needs is a championship and probably MVP. And if you can't provide an environment for that, it's either going to be forced upon him, right? Like you said, if there is a change or so, or the pressures of being in your prime, 31 years old, like this is the time for Dame to really showcase his skills. And I'm sort of glad that he's had time to sort of step back because this guy has put in his work in the league. I keep bringing it up. He leads like the last 5 or 6 years in miles run in the NBA. He's always performed. A lot of people were critical of his performance at the start of this year. I was like, can this man breathe for a moment?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even forcing the issue in the middle of the season. So I was like, just let's chill a little bit. But the reality is, I think in the next year or two, if you don't have something viable, something has to be viable presented to him because his talent deserves a top-tier team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Even when I was in New Jersey with Jason Kidd, one of the things that led to his trade to Dallas is that the Nets didn't want to give him an extension. And this is the historic guy, name in the rafter. He was like, I want a 2-year extension. They were like, well, we're not sure the direction we want to go. If they're not just going to give Dame that 2 years, and I know it's 35, 36, but a lot of times you're giving that 35, 36 because you want what this individual can do for you now. If they're not saying, Dame, you are not leaving, we're going to pay you your money and you are going to be the pillar until you retire, then Dame has to take a step back.
And all athletes will take notice of that because this guy has been loyal to the soil in the community, both on and off the court. Mm-hmm. And so then if that is the case, then you know that it is truly a business and don't be surprised when players make their own moves.
Well, we're going to see how this shakes out. That's going to be a decision that the new general manager, we know they have an interim general manager, is going to need to make. That interim general manager, Joe Cronin, is going to speak tomorrow to reporters for the first time. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, not on the court tonight against the Warriors, but Steph Curry will be. And if you think we're done talking about Steph Curry, then you don't really know NBA today. Because coming up, we go to the top of his best threes of all time. And after
Katie.
Yeah, Kevin Durant.
It was a unanimous decision.
Yeah,
it was a unanimous decision.
But if it's from the left wing, I'm giving Luka. Give it to Luka.
Okay, that's hyper-specific, but it's a good thing we saw both of these guys in action last night, Richard.
Look, Kevin Durant was doing what Kevin Durant wants. And look, we jumped to the fourth mainly because of this. We jumped to the fourth because the Dallas Mavericks were up like 17. And then, look, now it becomes a battle of who can just lead their team to where they need to get.
Love this.
When Luka does that, Kevin Durant does.
It's back and forth. And look, the Brooklyn Nets, they've been figuring things out. And look, James Harden is starting to get going. You can't, and Luka's looking around like, hey, you can't leave anybody open. I'm sorry, there's no help. But here, this final play, Luka gets the step back that he wants. Look, Nick Claxton, great defense.
But there's the problem. Who do you leave wide open at the top of the key?
They're going to keep floating around. And look, James Harden's kind of slacking. But right here, Tim Hardaway Jr. with the pump fake.
And that's a shot he can make, but
no, not enough.
Too little, too late. And here's Kevin Durant, who played a heavy minutes load last night after the game.
We had 2 days in between, like, the last couple of games, you know what I'm saying? So I've been sitting at home a lot, to be honest, so when I get a chance to play, we didn't have shoot around this morning, because it was an early game. So when I get a chance to play, yes. I mean, I know people may be concerned about my minutes and I got injured before and all this extra, but we'll figure that out if I get there. Right now, I want to play basketball. I might play 48 tomorrow, just because. Give me something to talk about.
Oh, there's a song here about let's give me some. I won't. I'm not going to do it, but we're talking about it, Kevin. I appreciate you giving us something to talk about. So, see, Janae's picking up what I'm throwing down. Durant is averaging 36.2 minutes per game. That's the most he's played since 2013-2014. He was 25 years old at the time. But then the team announced this morning, after he said he'd play 48 minutes, after playing 41 last night, he's resting. So is LaMarcus Aldridge. But big picture, Chene, is this something to worry about?
I'm not worried about it because this is a guy that's on a roll. And I know we are careful, especially with his return back from injury, after a year or season off. But the reality is KD, I mean, he's a hooper's hooper. And what I mean by that is he just loves to play basketball. And if he's good, let him play. He is leading the NBA in points per game around like 29. They're number one currently, the Brooklyn Nets in the East. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I have no problems with him playing minutes, but I do like them resting him time to time,
Okay, so a lot of people want to talk about what? Let's talk about why. Let's talk about why. Why is he playing so many minutes? The reason why he's playing so many minutes is that there are portions in these games where their defense is not up to par. Now, I know they're high on the defensive vision, but look at this. You get a layup right there, and then watch this. The ball just comes down, and then you give up a layup. And then look, in the paint, you get a shot. Look, ball's taken out underneath the basket.
Guys on the floor.
Underneath the basket. And let's see what type of play they get. Just layup.
Ooh,
now, to me, this is the thing. This is the difference between going into the fourth quarter up by 14 and going into the fourth quarter up by 6. Those are things that you can actually control over the course of a basketball game. So to me, when you're looking at Kevin Durant playing too many minutes, yes, they're defensive numbers, but there are multiple possessions, especially early in the game, that if they were just more solid and playing consistent defense, that's how you get your numbers from 41 down to 37.
Right, and this isn't new, right? I was having a deja vu. We had this discussion last season. I remember asking Steve Nash game after game after game, are you concerned about the minutes? Are you concerned about the minutes? The minutes piling up. And he said, yeah, but what other choice do I have? Because I take Kevin Durant out of the game. Remember, James Harden was racking up minutes. I take him out of the game, and then look what happens out on the floor. This is the man who played a full 48 minutes. Yes, it was in the playoffs. Yes, it was in a pivotal game 5. Yes, he had 49 points. But Hooper's Hooper, you kind of just got to let him figure it out. But on the flip side, Luka Doncic admitted that he needs to step up his conditioning a little bit, saying that over the summer he was a little bit relaxed and that it was maybe too much, and I've got to get back on track. So how much of a concern is that, Richard, for Dallas?
It's a concern in this moment, but let's talk about big picture. There are great players, and then there are elite. You have never, let's go down the line and look at great players over the course of basketball history. You have never questioned LeBron James' conditioning. You have never questioned Giannis's conditioning. You have never questioned Kevin Durant's conditioning. So when we're looking at great players, now then we start to wonder, okay, is he going to fall on the line of James Harden in that boat? Even Luka Doncic a little bit, or not Luka Doncic, Jokic, when he wasn't in great shape, but then he got in great shape, MVP. So to
Remember
me,
that? The photos that were floating around
I'm
that
just
summer?
saying,
That
to
was
me,
wild.
Luka has to make a decision. Are you going to be a very good player, or are you going to be an elite player? And that starts with off-season conditioning.
I think the one asterisk is that we're coming off of an abbreviated Olympic season in which he put the whole country of Slovenia on his back. And he alluded to that. Like, it was a shorter off-season for me, and he wanted to rest. He's 22 years old. We know he will make that decision in due time. At this point, his usage is still up. His efficiency is not nearly as great, to previous seasons. But the reality is this guy's still producing. I mean, what did he have yesterday? 28 and 6 and 9. And so, yes, there's room for improvement. I think he's one of the most competitive players in basketball. The maturity factor of realizing, because I'm not old, but you all old. But you get to a point when you're like 25, 26, 27, you're like, I have to rely on my conditioning to give me that edge. Mm-hmm. Some people learn it earlier, some people learn it later. Luka is probably going to learn it too.
Some people don't learn it at all.
True.
Case in point. Both Dallas and Brooklyn, they're back in action tonight. The Mavs are walking in Memphis and the Nets are in Houston. But we, after the break, are going to be talking about Steph Curry, who is on the cusp of becoming the all-time three-point king. So we're going to look back at some of his memorable threes.
Oh, my gosh.
The most memorable of all time.
What's been your most memorable shot?
The next one. Never worried about my shot ever.
Look at my splash, hype in my bag, no it's legit. In the cash, making the grip, count up an ad, nothing get missed.
Oh my goodness, 50-piece.
Get up and go, I'm on the road, got a surprise, I'ma make him say whoa.
I usually let my play do the talking.
So Steph is 16 threes away from the all-time record, and he faces the Blazers tonight at 10 Eastern on ESPN. And he's had, we can say, some success, right, against the Blazers throughout his career. He made, how many threes do you think, Richard, against the Blazers?
Let me see, 149.
How did you guess he made 149 threes against the Blazers? But this shouldn't even be called top of the top. It should just be called top of the Steph.
Yes.
We have so many top of the top that is Steph and his threes, so let's just roll through them. We are going to go through 5 today in our top of the top Steph Curry edition, starting with
young
this
Steph?
one.
They got baby Steph up there.
This is against the Clippers. And remember,
oh no. That
baby face killer.
You don't do that, people. Kids, don't watch this, kids. Do not watch this.
Well, you have to remember that in 2015, too, in Oracle Arena, when LA used to come up, right? Guys, people would get
Oracle was
for
it.
these games.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
coming off when the LA teams would just stomp on them.
Yes.
This was really everyone was Steve Kerr.
The best is Steve Kerr and even Alvin Gentry's reaction. Alvin Gentry sitting on the bench like, I can't coach that. I can't coach that. I'm glad he's on my team.
Well, there's also nothing else you can do about this. Steph Curry against the Grizzlies.
Oh my gosh, no dribble, y'all. Just like catch and shoot.
But look where this took off from.
Yeah. Oh, we're very. Well, see, this is my thing. Players all have hit half-court shots.
Okay.
No one does 12 of them a season.
Okay, thank you.
But the other
12 a
thing
season.
is, this isn't just half court. It's 62 feet.
Yeah.
And it's inside the other three-point line.
It's his
So
range.
count for 6.
It's his range. That's his range.
For this one, I just have to let Mike Breen take it away because no one can play better than him.
Who?
Drive falling away.
Don't do
Won't go. Rebound taken by
Don't do Mike Breen.
Okay, you're right.
Okay.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it.
tees
Curry,
it up.
way downtown. Bang! Bang!
A double
what a
bang.
shot from Curry with 0.6 of a second remaining.
Killer.
Man, that's about 35 feet out, well beyond the 28-foot mark.
Look at his
Now
face.
with 0.6 of a second remaining.
You know what I love about Steph? A lot of people want to flex and, do all this stuff after his shots. He's like, no, I'm just going to, take your joy away. That's what he does.
I'm going to snatch your joy. Well, you know who else's joy he snatched?
Who?
The Pelicans.
The Pelicans? Oh.
Yeah.
Is this one going to give us a double bang, a double Mike Breen bang?
This is when he set the three-point record initially, and then obviously Clay went on to say, that walk was cute, but I got 14.
Yeah, we forget, and we'll be quickly reminded that he will be even harder to guard, Steph Curry, once Klay Thompson is back. And
absolutely.
Look, the league is scared right now. There's a reason why you hear about all these trades for big teams and people making moves because they know what's coming.
Well, and all the reports are that Klay Thompson looks excellent.
Yeah, go Klay.
So we have to end with this year.
What's this year?
Earlier this year, technically still counting.
Oh my gosh, and bumped in the back.
Not the season, but earlier this year. Can you imagine? Look, he slid like a little penguin afterwards. Can you imagine if there were fans in the stands for this shot?
Oh yeah, and then look, this is what they call the Curry scurry. Once he gets up and he starts running like that, yeah, that's a Curry scurry.
Take flight.
Yeah, take flight. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can do to guard this man. You just have to hope.
Eastern. So, no Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo for the Heat tonight. Jimmy returned to action on Monday, but aggravated his tailbone injury and has been ruled out versus the Bucks. And our colleague Mark Spears reported that Bam underwent successful surgery on his right. He's expected to be out another 4 to 6 weeks. But who we are going to see tonight on the sidelines, Monica McNutt. She's going to be courtside for the Bucks Heat tonight. So the Bucks, they have been almost unbeatable for the past 3 weeks. So what's changed for them after this slow start?
Well, Malika, you have to acknowledge that this team had to get healthy. They had a bunch of guys in protocols and so on at the beginning of the season. But also, 2 guys that have caught my eyes in terms of career high productions are not in that big 3. And I'm talking about Grayson Allen and Bobby Portis, who are guys that have come in and really kind of surprised in their role, particularly Grayson Allen. When you talk about someone that's shooting better than 42% from behind the arc, he's shown his ability to be a terrific defender. And when I had a chance to talk with him today at shoot-around, he said, he didn't really come in with a bunch of pressure and expectations, even though he was joining the defending champs. But the system really plays well to what he's been able to do in terms of defending and catch and shoot. And then, of course, Bobby Portis, he just credits it to finally being able to be in a place consecutive years. He talked about bouncing around early in his career, but now he says he knows these guys. And he's like, it's hard to play with guys you don't know. That's not the case anymore for the underdog property owner.
Well, Bobby loves Milwaukee, and Milwaukee loves Bobby Portis. He says he sees his work ethic reflected in the city. Yeah, the Bobby.
Exactly.
Nice catch,
right? Exactly.
So the Heat, they're depleted,
You saw
right?
that.
No Jimmy, no Bam tonight. They lost to the Bucks by 22 last weekend, and Giannis didn't even play in that game. So how are they looking at this game tonight?
Well, Heat culture is real, and they are not making any excuses. In fact, PJ Tucker said, you can look at injuries as the negative. Obviously, you hate to see guys get hurt. But he also said it's an opportunity for other guys to step in. He's like, so much of NBA careers and the length of one's career is your ability to adapt and adjust. I was digging into the numbers, guys, trying to find some commonalities in terms of who's been able to step up in the 7 games in particular that Jimmy has missed. Kyle Lowry kind of emerges as kind of the leading scorer when he's out. But you look at a guy like Max Strus, whose production almost doubles from 5 points to 11 points in those 7 games. And so certainly it's going to be a team effort in replacing Bam and Jimmy Butler at this point. But they're not making any excuses, and they certainly plan to defend home court tonight.
Well, and you know that PJ Tucker, going against his former teammates that he won a championship with, he is going to come out with a fire. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate you stopping by. Hey, Richard, I don't even know if you're good?
Oh, I'm ready.
Well,
I'm ready.
Tell me about the Bucks.
What can I tell you about the Bucks? It is funny you should ask because, ladies and gentlemen, this is Don't Stab Me. I need you up. Let the chair go. Look, everyone is focused on the Warriors and the Suns as the best team in the league, and rightfully so. But one team we are sleeping on is the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Look, when their big 3 is in the lineup, guess what their number is?
11-0?
Yeah, 11-0. This woman does her homework, but there is more to this than just their record. And that's what we do here on Don't Stat Me. This is why this is the best segment in sports television. Look.
Minus Shanae Shishi.
Their win-loss record since November 17th. And look, the reason why we focus on this is because this is when the big three finally got together and started playing games. Now, what do we have next for them, ladies and gentlemen? Their rebounds per game, they are first. Again, we're talking about defending champions. And my best Vanna White impression, what is next? Opponents points in the paint. First. Now, this looks like a team that could go back-to-back championships. Defensive efficiency, second. So, look, they're slacking there. They got to get better. Pick it up. What are we thinking here? And then lastly, pace.
Oh, I love that.
Third, when you are winning, when you are rebounding, when you are keeping the opponents out of your paint, when you're defensively efficient and your pace is good, you want to get an example? You guys want to see some examples?
I want to see something.
Let me give you some examples, Shanae. This is what they do. They protect the paint. 3 people in the paint. And how do they clean up the paint? They get a rebound.
Team rebound.
Team rebound. And then what do, Janae? Just
easy buckets in transition.
Easy buckets. The game is not very hard. Again, look at this. Protect the paint. Giannis in there, Defensive Player of the Year. Gang rebound. Grayson Allen getting out in transition. This has been a simple transition for him. Lefty dunk.
Attack when the defense is not set up.
Lefty dunk. And again, the Cavaliers, a very good young team. People should keep their eyes on them. But this is Giannis. This is what Giannis does. In transition.
That's the next growth level in his game, why he's a superstar, because he's learning how to distribute.
Yo, and we're talking about as a center, he's grabbing the rebound, contesting shots, getting out in transition, and then dropping a dime to the corner. This is why the Milwaukee Bucks, I know they're not the sexy name because the Warriors have been crushing. Then you have, the Phoenix Suns going nuts. To me, this is the team that you need to pay attention to. This is a team that you have to focus on because the defending champs, they got their swagger back.
Hey. They got their swagger back.
So do you.
Like,
you kind of did that.
Oh, okay.
That,
kind of got your swag back.
I appreciate
Just a little
that.
bit. I'm good.
Okay, we'll talk later.
All right, you guys want to talk about Steph later, too?
Yes, I would love to talk about Steph later.
All right, well, we're going to do that coming up. Best bets around Steph.